planet? Is Janet from another 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 planet?
Today's digital landscape with the spread of false information can lead to dangerous outcomes. It's crucial for everyone to think critically and verify sources and reflect on the impact of what they share. Let's promote responsible communication to ensure that truth prevails and actions remain rooted in reality.
The opinions you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
The following program is rated TV MA LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Are you mature?
As little as possible.
Okay, me too. But yeah, I love that last thing. I think it's hilarious. But I'm trying to cover all the bases so that, plus my channel's set for not for kids. So hopefully there's not a bunch of, 12 or 13-year-olds watching. Which I don't think they would because it's boring. It's politics and shit. It's all things like grown-ups talking or whatever you want to call it. But I was just wanting to talk about tonight about this whole mess with the whole, SAVE Act crap. Not our Congress kind of like being lame. Our House of Representatives took care of it back in February. It's just been sitting there like all flopping on the desk and being ignored and gathering dust, basically, which I don't understand because it just seems to me that, I don't know, it just seems really fishy. Every day that goes by and they just hem-haw around and just dragging their feet and kicking the can across the street, all that stuff. It just seems it's pointing the finger at all of them. Like, what's keeping it? What do you think it is, Chris?
I saw a data miner video on YouTube this week, and they said they mined the data.
Yeah.
They said 25 million people who weren't qualified to vote voted for Joe Biden. So basically that's what they're talking about. If they pass that so that none of those people can vote, the Democrats they're not even in the picture anymore. Not without winning over a lot of people, and with what their agenda isn't, right? They don't have an agenda. Their agenda is attack the Republicans and get illegal votes. That's all they got. So,
well, I understand that, but we have the White House, we have the Senate, and we have the Congress, and we still can't get anything passed. It's the same thing that happened in his first term. It's like we get all of it. All the American people, 80 million people, all fight whatever they have to, and they go to the polls, even with cheating or whatever that was going on. Okay, and we get what we want in there. We get the people. But when I was told that every single person in Congress agreed to take another vacation, for whatever reason. And my senators are in on it. Your senators are in on it. All the senators supposedly agreed to take another vacation and not pass something that is ridiculous, because how in the hell can we not already have laws on the books that say that if you're an illegal citizen, you can't vote? But in a state that's a sanctuary state or a sanctuary cities or whatever else, or however they do that, apparently the law means squat, and nobody gets punished for it. And then you have judges that go, don't do that again. That's it. That's all that happens. Nothing. So you got people like me that are frustrated saying, what the fuck am I doing? I'm working every day. I'm paying my bills. I'm being a responsible person. I actually go and I get my permits for my weapons. I go to classes and I do all the things the right way, like the government says I'm supposed to, but yet I get the fucking shaft every time you turn around. Why is that?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
4 senators voted with the Democrats. You can give the names of these people. I won't do it because I think it's not. I mean, people can look it up. I don't want to threaten anybody, right? But you can say that those 4 people stopped it. That's how it works in Washington, D.C. Now, what everybody said before that, Trump went and talked to him and he thought that he was going to get it passed. And then 4 people didn't. But look what Marjorie Taylor Greene did to Donald Trump. Look what other people in the Republican Party have done to Donald Trump, but look at how many people are switching sides on the other thing too. Trump won the election because moderates pulled together and wanted to try a businessman in office. And he did so good the first time. And then this knucklehead, he didn't have his head out of his ass on all that election fraud. That's why we need the SAVE Act, because Joe Biden won in 2020. That's the whole point, right? It's almost like Politburo Russia that we all learned in school was this evil, creature. They can't elect who they want. And there's other countries, they have elections.
What shocked me about that, I just got to interrupt for just a second, because you said Biden won, right? What shocked me about that was many people that I know and I've known my whole life voted for Barack Obama, and as far as I can tell, they think he did a really good job. Okay, coming from the state of Illinois and then becoming president, that wasn't what we saw under Biden, right? So you have something to compare it to. But what was interesting to me is that none of these people that you hear complaining constantly about Trump being all these horrible names, a Nazi, a bigot, whatever, every single thing that they call me too, none of them said anything like this. Wow, Biden's more popular than Obama? He got more votes? More people showed up? They crawled out of their graves and went to vote for this wonderful man that they thought was better than Obama? I just was shocked. And not one of them, none of them, not any of them came to me and said, yeah, there's something fishy with that because I don't believe that he got more votes. Not one. Did you have any of your liberal friends say that they were shocked that Biden got more votes than Obama? Not one that I know of.
No, I don't. I looked up the numbers, and it was almost like 100% of the people who could vote did. No, that didn't happen. Right?
Well, see, I've worked the polls in Louisiana and in the parishes, and a couple parishes, and also in Arkansas. I've worked the polls in quite a few counties, helping, and I went and I passed out flyers, and I did tons of stuff to try to help, for our governor that's now governor to win, because I really wanted to see Sarah Huckabee Sanders win, which she did. But the thing is, when you do that stuff and you sit there and you watch how the whole system works, how the ballots come in, how they're handed out, how they get they find out that the person's a registered voter, blah, 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 well, all that stuff. Then you see all the videos that we saw on TV, with a guy with a stack this high in front of him, and he's writing on all of them and putting them in a slot. And you're like, what the fuck? That's illegal. Nobody's supposed to touch anybody's ballot but the person you handed it to. When you handed that ballot to him, it is no longer allowed for you to touch it till after you take it out of the box and it's time for us to count. That's it. That's why
first
you
time
have
we
to
knew
put it
they
in
were
the box yourself.
the first time we knew they were doing that was with Ilhan Omar. She literally had herself videotaped paying somebody $3 to vote, and how they didn't pursue that, I don't. There was no Justice Department during the Biden administration. It was lawfare. People like me, people like Trump. I mean, we were constantly being sued, taken to court, arrested, and everything under the sun. It's like, what are y'all doing, man? Right? But they did it. Right?
Yep.
They think Trump is trying to use lawfare. What Trump's trying to do is stop lawfare. That's the whole point. You can't weaponize the judicial system. Right?
Well,
we're in a mess. There's no doubt. Look at what happened in New York with them electing socialists. Somebody has to go clean that up. It's not just going to just go away. It has to be cleaned up.
Yeah, the thing is, they openly, and I really do believe it, even if they go back and they try to go through all the, the counting or whatever else in New York City to see whether or not he won as mayor, I believe that he did. Okay. Just like I worked the polls for many, many years, and I'm telling you right now, I don't feel like there was a shit ton of cheating going on to get Obama in office. I really don't. Everyone I talked to said, hell no, I ain't voting for Hillary.
No, the only thing
they went for Obama in a heartbeat.
Yeah, the only thing they cheated on with him was vetting him to run. Okay, he qualified to be a senator. He qualified, he could have been the governor of Illinois, but he truly did not qualify to be the president any more than Kamala Harris qualified to be the vice president.
Well,
right?
I've been hearing about that, but I don't know anything really in depth about it. All I know is from just me talking to people, I never felt like we got ripped off or that I got ripped off or stabbed in the back because he won. Because I just felt, wow, I just can't believe this many people voted for him, with his record that he had in Illinois. And what I was telling people was the fact that he voted in his state to let girls that were 13 years old be able to go and get an abortion without their parents' permission. And I was like, and you think that's okay? And these were people that were saying they were Catholics. And they said, well, I really like him. Yeah, he's made a few mistakes, but he's only human. And they made excuses for him. And if we keep making excuses for all these people just so that we can vote for them because it makes you feel better, you're giving up your morals and stuff something you should believe in. And to me, I think that's terrible. That's just like, almost like cheating because you are sacrificing who you really are. And I think that's one reason why we're in such shitty place that we are right now with all this fraud and all the USAID. I mean, when I heard some people complaining, the same people, mind you, that said that they voted for Obama, even though they knew that he voted in his state, and you can look it up, to let 13-year-old girls be able to get an abortion without telling their parents. And a couple of them were saying, there was people that were trying to stop that when they were trying to pass it in their state, that there was a couple girls that had been raped, one of them by their bus driver. And they were saying, well, she should be able to go to her counselor at school and get an abortion without having to tell her parents about it. It's like, that's pathetic. But you know how I've always been huge about underage girls or boys being assaulted by their teachers or anyone, being used because they're not old enough to make those decisions and they're being groomed or whatever the reason was behind it. But I just think that's I wouldn't have voted for him simply for that. There's a few people in my state right now that I wouldn't vote for, and I don't care if they got an R next to their name. If I knew that they were involved in a bunch of scandalous, stupid shit, I definitely wouldn't want to know that I'm the one I put them in office, and then have them do the same shit, and me going, "Oh, I'm shocked," even though you knew already, what kind of freaking piece of shit they were. And I don't care who it is. I mean, there's one right now that's in my state that I didn't vote for any of the times because of certain things that I was told. Now I don't have, pictures and stuff like that. I was just told by people that I knew that said, yeah, this, that, and the other was going on, and I didn't vote for this person. And he's one of the senators in my state, and I didn't vote for him, and I won't vote for him. So
Well,
I just took a blank.
Barack Obama had all the charisma he needed to get elected, and I think he loves people. His problem was he could never look at what the outcome of his decisions were going to be.
Yeah.
Right? He would make the Health Care Act. It got knocked back when Hillary tried it as a special task for Bill Clinton back in the 90s. And the reason was because we proved it would bankrupt the medical industry. And then they passed it. And they passed it because Nancy Pelosi, who vetted him to run for president, right? There was a reason that that whole thing was about the Health Care Act, right? So
yeah, one of the things that really upset me during the whole thing after the first time Trump got in, and we had all the seats we needed, we had all the people, everyone was in place to be able to get things done, and they all ran on it, just like they ran on America First this time, okay, and they're still not doing shit. Is the fact that they all ran on they were going to get rid of Obamacare. And did they? No, they lied then. So I try to tell people, why you vote for that guy? And that's one reason. Well, that's one of the reasons why I didn't vote for this person again that ran in my state, because they voted for it and nothing happened. They just do all this and they do nothing. Because that's why I tell people, actions speak louder than words. If they get in there, like you said that you would help them, you get them in there, and then they just do this, they don't do shit, then don't vote for them again. I mean, that's bullshit, and people still keep voting for them. Well, there's no one else. There's always someone else, but somebody else or no X at all is the only choice you have. Well, then don't put an X in there. Because at least I can sleep at night knowing I didn't put them in there. I have to live with it, that they're in there, because we have to live with the effects of whatever is out there doing this shit. But I know I'm not one of the reasons why they're in there, because I didn't vote for that person. So, sucks. So you can go ahead and say what you were going to say now. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'm listening. I mean, politics has been the same way, right? The way my life went, being around my dad, taking care of presidents, and being in Washington, getting in the military when he was a general and I was an NCO, and I was always on a different level than him, right? I owned a lot of companies and I had a talent in music, and I was able to do a lot with my life. But I really didn't start getting really deep in education until I got in the military, and it was all medical.
Yeah.
But growing up around all of that and the corruption, and I mean, nothing has changed. The faces changed, the names changed, but really the politics don't. And I went through a real political time in my life because I went to a small Christian school that was built by a senator, a Georgia senator, so his daughters could have a place to go to school when the busing, all that went down. Mm-hmm. And that's where I graduated from. And we were a prep school. We took college courses in school. We had all kind of stuff like that going on there. I think they call them magnet schools now. But he would have me campaign for him. He got me to be a page for him a couple of times during the summer when I was out of school, running around up there taking mail to people and all that stuff. So, I had that experience of it. and just there, what I noticed was seemed like everybody was drunk, all the time. And because I was from a small Baptist school, I didn't drink or do any of that stuff during those years. So I noticed those things, and they would drink during the day when they were working. So here's the people that run our country, and they're drunk, right?
Yeah.
And I don't care about people drinking, but there's a time and a place for everything. And really, when you're running the most wealthy country in the world, it's probably not a good idea to be drunk. Hey, man, let's send 10 million over here to this guy. He's my
Well, see,
neighbor.
that's what my
It's
mother
like,
used to say about my grandparents. Because I remember one time I asked her, God, I don't remember how old I was, maybe 8. And I asked her, I said, why is Papa always drunk? At least he acts like it. And she said, well, he had a stressful life. So when he gets home from work, he likes to have a few drinks. And then he laughs a lot. And it makes him happy. So when he goes to bed, he doesn't have sad thoughts. That's what my mom told me. So I always thought, well, that's kind of sweet, that he's always happy when he's sleeping, that kind of thing. Then as I got older, I realized, well, you don't have to have a miserable life to be an alcoholic,
no.
So I realized it changed as I got older, because I started seeing, that kind of stuff behind the scenes type of thing. And it's really sad, because I had a lot of relatives that had, alcoholic members of their family. And it's just a sad thing to see, especially when it affects their lives. I mean, you do have functioning ones that can keep their jobs and things like that. But then you have some that are just totally useless. They don't do anything. And then others that are mean, so.
Man, this deep state lawyer friend of mine and I tried to sue Nancy Pelosi one time because she goes on the Congress's jet.
Yeah.
54 people on the flight, and everyone on there is related to her, right? They fly to Paris, they fly back. The alcohol bill from the jet, not from the big hotel they rented in Paris, none of that stuff, just the jet, was $74,000. Okay, that's for 2 about 14-hour flights, transatlantic.
I know, but how many people were drinking on there?
54 people. $74,000. Okay,
awful.
so we tried to sue her to make her pay for it, and this is the answer that we got from the lawyers in the Congress. That money was left over from a Christmas fund, and they had to spend it before such and such date because it would go back into the Office of Budget Management, right? The OMB. So that's what they did with it. They bought all that alcohol and got on that jet and flew halfway around the world and got drunk for days.
I mean, have we ever had, I don't think we ever have, because I've never heard of it. It's like a surplus where, the year goes by and they go, yay, we had 10% of our money left. We saved 10% of our budget or something. Have you ever heard of that ever happening?
Yeah, and I'll tell you when it was and why it happened. All right, so we went over for Desert Storm, right? And all that's over. And we stayed there to occupy it for a little while they set up governments and blah, blah, blah. So all these women in Kuwait started driving their husbands' cars because they saw these American military women driving these great big D-50s and fuel trucks and all this. Like, well, if they can drive that, I can drive a car. The mayhem got so bad, the king of Saudi Arabia told George Bush right before he left office, I'll give you $500 billion if you'll just get these fucking women out of here that are ruining all our women over here, right? So
yeah, that makes
Bush
sense.
accepts the deal, but the money didn't come until after Clinton got in office. But that gave us a surplus. Remember, we had a $20 billion debt after the S&L crisis that happened in the 80s under Reagan, where they deregulated the S&Ls and you could just go borrow $100,000 where everybody's borrowing it and nobody's paying it back.
Yeah,
our debt
real.
at that time was $20 billion. Now think about that. We're at 30 trillion now. USAID and all their lobbyists and giving money to their friends and all that kind of stuff. And half that money goes to casinos and drug dealers from South America. I hate to say it, but it does.
Just think about this. If every person in Congress had to have the actual stacks of money in front of them to be able to allot it somewhere, just think about it, how much more money we'd have. Because when you give a teenager a piece of plastic and you tell them this is your limit, okay, and they just go ting ching, makeup, food, gas, phone, whatever it is, and next thing you know, they're in the minus, right? Same thing with people. When they don't have money, they just have this. They don't. It's too easy to go into the debt because they don't look at it as real. It's not real. Oh, I got all the money I need. I got this. I got plastic, whatever. And that's, to me, is one of the really bad things that we've just become accustomed to. Because so many people say, oh, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in AI, and I don't believe in, a cashless society, and I don't do this. And I said, but you're using a credit card right now to pay for your gas. Well, it's just more convenient. I go, there you go. Convenience. See, people are doing it because it's fast. Go through the drive-through, get food, go to the restaurant, go to the grocery store, everything. Nobody uses cash unless you go to like a flea market or a yard sale or something like that. Then you have a little bit of cash and you spend it. But that's why it's slowly evolving to where what happens when you're in a spa or whatever, right? And you say you're supposed to pay $500 for you and your wife to get a whole spa treatment for your anniversary, and you're in and the power goes out and you're just about done. Are they gonna just let you leave because now you can't pay? See what I mean? See, that's what I'm saying. They're not gonna let you leave, so they're gonna have how many people sitting in there waiting until the power comes on again, which might not come on for 6 hours. So I was getting my nails done, well, a pedicure, and the power went out. And I asked them, I said, do you have one of those, swipers for a credit card? They said no. And I said, well, you got 7 people in here? How are they going to pay if they don't have cash? And they didn't know to bring cash. So how are you going to get your money? So you got to cover those bases. And you'd think our senators and, other people in government would be going, we got to think about other ways to take care of our bills, instead of just the taxpayer, They just think of the one thing because we're an endless piggy bank. We're always going to be somebody that has a job that's got to be paying taxes. And if they don't get it from, let's say, 20% of the people don't pay taxes, well, they just raise taxes on all the rest of the people that do pay. See?
That's what Democrats want to do.
Yeah. And that's the scary part, is the fact that the people don't seem to talk about it when they're thinking about people running for office. The only time I ever hear anyone talk about their money going up is when they're having a huge race like governor or something like that. But all the little people that are running, every 2 years, or depending on what your state is and how it's set up, I don't hear anybody complaining about, they're going to raise this many cents for taxes to build this bridge, down the road, or whatever else. They're going to add this much gas to build a new school, a tax on gas, stuff like that. And then they bitch and moan that, look how expensive gas is. Well, look at California. Gas is expensive because they charge, so many dollars per gallon more money for their gas so that they can pay for all the other shit that you're never going to see, but you don't seem to care because you use plastic to pay for everything. So people just wait to the last minute, and then they gripe and complain because it's that dollar just not stretching because now it's made out of plastic. You see what I mean? I don't know. To me, it's common sense to think about that kind of stuff, but people just don't seem to care until it's finally affecting them. But they're on the higher pay grade, so it took a while longer to get to them. But the people down here are already, going without a meal once a day and stuff like that. And people just don't seem to give a crap until it finally lands in their lap. And what these people are doing right now in New York, they're going to find out. And what's going to be sad, though, is that the rest of us are going to end up having to find money to pay their way because they can't pay their bills or something. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be good. But I'm going to go ahead and bring up this first thing that I wanted to play tonight. I thought was pretty interesting because I'm sure you've probably already seen it. It's Mike Johnson, and he's talking about the Democratic Party because of this whole thing that's going on. But here we go. Let me make sure it's turned up. Yeah, here we go.
Glad French Hill is here. Chairman Hill did an extraordinary job in the housing bill. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I've got to address a very sobering reality that is facing the country this morning. I did it with the House Republicans, and I was pretty animated this morning. I was up late last night, as I'm sure many of you were, and you saw the result of this latest, these primary elections for the Democrat Party. The headlines this morning say it all. I've got a collection of them here. Socialist earthquake, one of them said. Mamdani candidates sweep New York House races. These are socialists. These are Marxist in their ideology. Mm-hmm. Next headline, Mamdani hails new chapter for Democrats, one of the Chiron said this morning on the news. Hakeem Jeffries, my counterpart, the Democrat leader here in the House, was booed at some of these return parties last night. You saw that on social media and some of the clips. When he was being interviewed on the screen, the crowds in New York, in his own backyard, in the Bronx, in one of these districts, were booing him. And they shouted, "You're next." Hakeem Jeffries has a tall task ahead of him right now. He's got to go out and somehow make a credible pitch to Democrat establishment donors that that's a good national investment right now. That's a tough one to make. He has just proven that he cannot even hold the line in his own backyard. How can he possibly defend against the Marxist march around the country in these other districts? This is not your father's Democrat Party, as we say all the time. Last night, among the incumbents who lost, Adriano Espaillat, who's chair of the Democrats' Hispanic Caucus, Dan Goldman, who was mocked for his Jewish heritage in a coffee shop in New York and maligned online because of that. The Democrat Party, the socialists, the Marxists, have nominated some of the most radical candidates to ever run for office, and they're running for Congress. The insurgent left is on the rise. I was reminded all last night and this morning about the warning, the admonition from the Gipper, President Ronald Reagan. And he reminded us constantly, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And he said, it's got to be fought for, it's got to be protected, it's got to be passed along to the next generation so that they too will know the same liberty, opportunity, and security that we've known and frankly too often take it for granted. He said, freedom is not passed along in the bloodstream. It's got to be fought for. And these are the times that Reagan was warning about. He was warning about communism overseas. Now it is on our own shores. And it is a very serious time, and every American needs to wake up and understand the threat. I want to share with you some of the lowlights, some of these candidates who are emerging through these through the processes. Last night made crystal clear, as Leader Scalise said, that Zoran Mamdani and AOC and Bernie Sanders have just taken full control of the Democrat Party, of what was left of it. Across the country, Democrats have candidates winning primaries and rising through the ranks. Here's a few of them. Vang in California, one of the Democrats, she won't say the Pledge of Allegiance. Hamaway in New Jersey, Democrat candidate, socialist candidate, has ties to Al-Qaeda and other terrorists. Chevalier won last night in New York over Hakeem's counter endorsement. She says she wants to abolish the border. She doesn't want a border for the country. Mendoza in Arizona wants to decriminalize trans prostitution. Apparently that's the thing. James in Iowa wants to apologize for being white. Gary Ott in Iowa performed a Satanist wedding. And Bennett in New Jersey stopped going to church because Trump voters were there. This is just a sampling. And these kind of people have been popping up. You've been hearing me say for weeks, there are many Mamdanis popping up all around the country. It is a dangerous thing. This is not a joke. We're in a fight right now to save the republic. And every American needs to take this seriously. You need to wake up. This upcoming midterm election is not the midterm elections of years ago. It's going to decide the direction of the country. Are we going to maintain our status as a constitutional republic on our 250th anniversary? Are we going to make a new choice and go down some road towards a communist utopia? That's the choice right now. We've been saying for months, it's a contrast election. We've been saying it's a contrast between common sense and crazy. That's exactly what's going on. They give us new illustrations every day.
I want to pause it for a second. There's something I wanted to say about that. I was thinking about all the young, because I was watching all these young girls giggling and all happy in New York. Oh, without that Mamdani, they were just so happy. And what the sad truth is, if you watched him being sworn in, the woman that was holding the Quran, which he was swearing on, she was wearing gloves. You know why? Because a woman cannot hold the Quran because she's unclean. There's so many things they don't understand, that they're going to be covered up, because if your ankles show or your wrists show or your neck or anything like that, even your face, if they just said they want you to wear a full hijab, it's because a man might get aroused. And if he's aroused and he has to have you in the middle of the street, there's nothing you do about it because you're property. These women have no clue. But one day they will, when they don't have those options to just walk away or wear the shorts that they like or the tank top that they want. They just don't understand yet. Okay. There is a movie that I reviewed not very long ago. It's called Not Without My Daughter. It's based on a true story. And it's Sally Field starred in it. And it was really, really good. And I'm still getting views on it. I'm still getting reviews on that review, people watching it. And if you watch that movie, you kind of get an understanding of how your life will change under that when she goes to move with her husband to his home country. And then she's told that her daughter's about to turn 9 and she will be betrothed to someone else. It's tough. It's a whole thing because she's an American and she doesn't understand. She's not that religion, but they don't have a clue. These young people don't understand.
Let me jump in and say something right here. And I got a perfect segue for it. The USA just scored their first goal just 2 minutes into this World Cup game, right?
Yeah.
The TikTok is overwhelmed with videos of people visiting the country right now because they can't believe how amazing America is. They're posting our country's been lying to us. People are saying they don't want to leave. Okay. And I'm watching that wave is going across and it's making people go, what? Why is it so much better than where you are? People are going to wake up to the fact that they're trying to take this country down a notch. Everybody else wants to be like America. Okay. Then we got to get to the fact this was done on purpose. And then the second thing I want to mention is the movie that you and I watched today. Right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I mean, imagine if Speaker Johnson watched that movie. He'd probably be up cheering and jumping up and down and get me another beer and all that, because it sounds like that's the way he feels. The way I feel is the more that you can enlighten people to the truth, things like what we talked about before the show with the Ayatollah Khomeini, who said America is the great Satan and we're going to destroy Israel because they're westernizing the Middle East, all based on this radical ideology that won't let a woman touch the Quran. Right? 47 years of brainwashing, and then they opened our border. And now we got 2 or 3 million of those radical people over here, at least. They're at least because they're electing these people that don't understand. It's not to get this country to become another Russia or another China. It's about to make it a great big Iran. Okay. And that's the thing that people really need to get their grasp on. They've done it to England. The people in England are beside themselves. The prime minister just resigned, and they say the guy coming in is worse than him. So we have a lot, to go on. And I played soccer. I played soccer with Nigerians and Iranians and Pakistanians and Egyptians and people from England and Scotland. And back in that young part of my days, we couldn't get players from other countries to come play soccer here because of the migration laws. And, I pushed for having it more lax so that I could go play in England. See, I got to try out in England. I couldn't go because I couldn't get my paperwork through. So we wanted to be able to have that, and that I agree with that. I think sports should be open in a global matter, and I also think that business should be open in a global matter, but it should be done with sovereignty of nations, right? And League of Nations started in 1910, and the idiot that did that was born right down the street from here, and I was part of the Woodrow Wilson birth home renovation. I laid all the tile in there, and the fact that he's that guy, and then when what's his name, Roosevelt, not Teddy, the later Roosevelt gets in office, we got World War I and World War II going on. He got 3 terms because of World War II. They didn't want to replace the president after the second term because the war was still going on. And when he came in for the Great New Deal and the interstate system and all this stuff they're talking about to recover from the 1920 29 crash. So he enacted a lot of socialist laws during that time, tons of them. He socialized America, and that was because of the Great Collapse. Now, they thought we were going to have a collapse I remember in the 2000s, we were like trying to pick the year, and some people were saying 2030. I said I thought it would be 2024, and I was wrong, right? But the point that I'm bringing all of this up for, general population, the person who owns the little coffee shop, goes to work every day, the people that travel to watch the World Cup, people that go on cruises, whatever, people get along. People love each other, and people get along, right? That's what these TikTok messages coming from all these people that came to see the World Cup are making everyone realize everybody wants to be in America. And why? Because the way we operate, capitalism, free market, you can own your own company, wear what you want, you can own a gun, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, because we got the Second Amendment.
That's right, and they're loving every bit of it. Walmart's, Buc-ee's, Costco. These people are stunned that these places are even real.
He's gonna talk about that granted. Too.
Yeah, let's go ahead with it.
Okay, because he's gonna talk about what's going on right now.
Okay. And these radical candidates are self-describing, they're self-identifying as Marxist. They want to fundamentally transform this country. And sadly, many of these Democrat candidates and their voters just don't have the same zeal and affection for America. They don't appreciate the freedom that we have in this country. They're not even going to celebrate on July 4th. There's a new Gallup NBC poll that came out. Did you see that? Only 29% of Democrat voters that they polled said they're proud to be an American. What happened to the Democrat Party? They compared the poll from just 20 years ago, where it was 90%, because that's where Republicans are, above 90%. 29%. Over half of Democrats now say they would rather live in another country. What a split screen we're seeing. Right now, we're triumphantly hosting the World Cup games all around the country. And we're seeing people from different countries come and get a little taste of America, a little taste of freedom, of our culture and our society. And they appreciate it so much more than these socialists running for Congress. Fans across the country are truly enjoying our world-class facilities and the incredible atmosphere on the field and off the field. Thanks to social media, we're seeing a lot of these. This has been encouraging to see. The visitors appreciate what we have. Dutch travelers are in all Buc-ee's. German players took a midnight trip to the Waffle House. It's the greatest thing they've ever seen. English fans are roaming the Everglades. Japanese tourists marveling over free chips and salsa at a Mexican restaurant in Texas. Don't forget your blessings. The people from Europe and Latin America, many countries around the world, many of them, here's the key, they grew up under repressive state-controlled economies. They've never known freedom. They've never known these kinds of things. And they're seeing them for themselves, the genius of America's system. a system that rewards risk takers and entrepreneurs and job creators and innovators and people who create jobs for others and expand the economy and opportunity and broaden the pathway out of poverty for more people. That's what the Republicans stand for. That's what French Hill fought for in the housing bill, to give more people a chance, to restore the American dream. That's what we promised to the voters, and that's what we are delivering. The irony is, and it is a sad irony, and I'm so disturbed this morning. Y'all know me, I'm a happy warrior. I like to be optimistic and happy. This is a very disturbing trend. Visitors around the world marvel at what our free system of free enterprise has built, while rising socialist, Marxist, Democrat candidates are trying to tear the system down. That's what they told you in their campaign speeches. That's what they want to do. They want to tear it down. House Republicans are standing in the gap. We are not going to let that happen. And we had all the Republicans gathered up this morning, and I gave them the best locker room speech I can muster, because now is the time. We know America is not perfect. It has never been. But we've been in a gradual process of making a more perfect union for almost 250 years now. We're going to continue that. America's created more prosperity. It's lifted more people out of poverty. It's expanded more opportunity and innovation than any other country in the world. It's not even close. This is the greatest nation in the history of the world. It's not even close. Look at any objective factor. You hear me say it all the time. We're the most free, most successful, most benevolent, most prosperous nation that's ever been. And it's not by happenstance. It's because we're built on very firm foundational principles that the Marxists and the socialists have disdain for. What are the principles of America? I mean, it's not a rhetorical question. You all should be able to answer it. Things like individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, human dignity, the sanctity of all life. Why? Because it's articulated in the nation's birth certificate and in the Declaration. It says right there in the second paragraph, we hold these truths to be self-evident. What is a self-evident truth? Is something you have to know. It's obvious. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. It does not say just born equal. It says created equal by someone. And it's our Creator, God, who gave us our inalienable rights. Among those rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Such a profound statement. When they did that 250 years ago, they were saying something, the bold proclamation of a self-evident truth. And the implication is that every single person is made in the image of that Creator, because the guys that wrote that, the men that wrote that, the founders that wrote it, were students of Scripture. And they understood, because everybody's made in the image of God, it means every single person has inestimable dignity and value. And your value is not related in any way to the color of your skin or what zip code you live in or what your talents are. It's all irrelevant. Your value is inherent because it's given to you by God. The Marxists and the socialists do not believe what I just told you. They don't believe it. Marxism, Karl Marx, his philosophy begins with a premise that there is no God. The state is the God. The state is the one that gives you your rights. And guess what? When the state gives you all your rights, the state can take the rights away. Nobody's telling all these little young self-described socialists, oh, we'll give you free stuff, but you're going to have to give up your freedom to go along. They don't tell them that. This thing's going to crash and burn. It always has throughout history. And the lesson of the 20th century alone is that tens of millions of innocent people have died because of these crazy, quixotic notions. We have to stand for freedom. We got to stand for America. We got to stand on the 250th birthday with greater conviction, clarity, and consistency than we ever have. I'm glad that millions of visitors here for the World Cup see that. I'm glad they got a little timely reminder. They're giving us one. All our faults and disagreements aside, America's filled with the most decent and faithful people. This grand experiment in self-governance has worked because we've adhered to the foundations, and we have to defend them. And that's what the Republicans are doing right now. We're defending the foundations of the greatest country in the history of the world, not against your father's Democrat Party, but now against the Marxists. And we're ready for the fight. I'm telling you, the House Republicans are fired up for this. We're going to win this midterm election. We're going to maintain the beacon of hope and freedom and opportunity that this country has always been. Indeed, as our first Republican president Lincoln said, and as Reagan repeated, America is the last best hope of man on the earth. I'm up to fight. These guys are up for the fight. This chairman's up for the fight. All our colleagues are. I'll take a few questions. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I thought he did a great job. I thought that was a very good, honest speech. It's sad that our Congress doesn't feel the same way.
I like Speaker Johnson. I think a world of Speaker Johnson.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
He's Jewish. He wears a yarmulke to work sometimes. Mm-hmm. During the midst.
I know, and a lot of people are on the Jew hating thing too. That we're in the bad shape that we're in because of them. Blah blah blah. Because they hate religion also. I don't hate religion. I believe in freedom of religion, as long as your religion doesn't try to stomp on my religion, so that all these people should be able to walk side by side and have their beliefs. That's what I believe in. I think that's what our forefathers tried to have when they first started this country. But what I want to share next is really quickly. Let me just close this real fast. Is what his speech just made me think of was the movie that we just got through watching, and I posted this after the movie, so I'm going to share it. This is it right here. So let me get it bigger. This is the movie that we watched. It was called Citizen Vigilante, and I thought it was really good. To me, it was. I posted on there that I thought this was the best movie I've seen since The Sound of Freedom came out. And to me, I put it in the same category as The Sound of Freedom. It's not so much that it's a true to life movie. It's the fact that it's trying to tell you what could be coming your way if you don't get off your ass and make some good decisions. You know what I mean? Start making some changes right at home so that you can keep what you have and even make it better. And I see so many people that are just kind of, so I hope that if they go and watch this movie, because as of today, you can watch it free on X. If you go to that Citizen Vigilante page on X, you can watch it for free. But Saturday it's going down, and then you have to get it on like Prime or whatever other one and pay for it. So I just wanted you to know that you could do that. And
can I throw in the disclaimer?
Yeah.
Because if you're squeamish or just ate a big meal, be careful, because it's extremely graphic.
Yeah, it says so right here on the bottom here. It says warning, very graphic content. It's a vigilante. It's a guy who's getting even with criminals that have gotten away with it or gotten a slap on the wrist over in Europe. Somewhere in Europe. It doesn't really point everything out.
It starts out with one of those scenes where some woman's just walking down the street minding her business
with her child,
and a radical guy comes up and stabs her throat.
Yep.
And the little boy has to watch her die. I mean, that's really happening. That's not something that's off in the future.
Everything you saw in that movie,
that's something already happening. That's
all
right.
Of it, the rapes, the attacks,
everything,
all that is really happening. But the fact that they have a guy that's getting revenge against these people because they've basically gotten a slap on the wrist or let out, after raping someone, they just say, oh, well, they're from a different culture, blah, blah, blah. They don't assimilate. And that's the sad truth about what I've seen, even in our country, in Canada, from people that I know that live in Canada, Australia. I talk to people on Spaces, on X, for all those things. And the problem is not the fact that they're bringing immigrants in. That's not the problem. It's the fact that the immigrants come, they don't assimilate. They don't want to learn the language. They don't want to learn to read and write in the country that they're in. They expect to just be given homes, food, whatever, even if they can't get a job because they can't read and write. They can't understand the rules and regulations. But when you bring in so many people that it starts taking down your economy because you're taking away from the people that were born and there are citizens of your country to feed and house people that don't want to assimilate into your country, and they're not going to put back into the country. They're going to do nothing but drain from it. Why would any country want to do that? No country can afford to do that.
Yeah, I don't look at that so black and white, and I haven't looked at it black and white for a long time. The issue that we have is we allowed people in this country who refer to us as the great Satan. Okay, when I drive around town, when I drive around the country, especially when I'm in Washington, D.C., you see a lot of assimilated immigrants doing jobs that the stupid Game Boy jockeys won't go out and do. we have a need for those hardworking people, okay? And those people do want to assimilate, and they love America like our World Cup visitors do, right? We have these radical, look at these radical George Soros funded and whatever, the dude over there in China, he's in Beijing and hangs out with Xi and he pays for these things, right?
Yep.
Okay, those are white chicks, right? It's all a bunch of emaciated white chicks or beta men who couldn't fight their way out of a paper sack, right? It's nothing more than noise. If you look at all of that stuff, we have what it would take to shut that down so fast it'll make your head spin. And then they go, but that's unconstitutional. Freedom of speech is not confined in burning courthouses, overturning cars and all that. If you're committing a crime, then what you're saying is also a crime, right? So I think the solution is more simple, and I don't see immigrants as black and white, not at all. You know, when I learned how to talk, I lived in Japan. Then we lived in Hawaii for a while. Then I went to San Antonio and lived on the edge of a military base in Mexican San Antonio, Texas. If you wanted to order food, you had to learn how to speak Spanish, right? And there were places you didn't want to go, right? But back then, there was places a Mexican wouldn't want to go either, right? And we went through all we went through in the 70s. During those times, I told you, me and James Brown used to go every time two gangsters shot each other, we'd go to the funeral and plead with them to quit doing all that, right? Yeah. Now that's spread out even more into culture. And you have like Johnson in Chicago. Is this guy blind? Is he insane? He talks about racism and it's like, dude, everyone who's killing your blacks here are black. You can look all that stuff up at FBI.com. I'm not just running my mouth, and I'm far from racist. I'm part African American, part Native American, and a lot European. And I'm not going to go like Jim Carrey and liar and beat myself in the restroom because I hate different parts of me. I love all of my culture. I love my Indian grandmothers, and I love working for James Brown and being a funk keyboard player and all that. I loved being around all that. But I can tell you, all the talk of racism fuels all of that great Satan bullshit, which isn't even true. And all the work we did to get where we got. And then 2008, we had an election. And we elected a black dude. And all of a sudden, we're racist. It's like, dude, my mom voted for him twice.
Voted for him twice.
My mom voted for him twice. I told her she was crazy as hell, but you got to vote, right? That's just the way it is. But that was when all the effort we put in to segregate and black people go to white clubs and white people go to black clubs, and we got a lot of Hispanics working in the construction business and all this, and everything was fine. We were all getting along. Now, that's the world that the visitors are seeing. They're not listening to CNN and MS Now and MSNBC and ABC and all this, and all they talk about is hatred and fucking bullshit. And now the whole world has come here and said, wait a second, this is where everybody wants to live. However this works, this is what we want. And that's all. It's all narrative stuff. They took over media, right? As soon as they made it legal for drug companies to advertise. I get so sick of drug commercials. It's like, you can't be serious. Then they told us to all take COVID vaccine. It's like the vaccine that wasn't tested, that didn't work, that literally killed 30 or 40,000 people the minute they got it down the line. And they're still denying that shit. We had them come in with data, global people working on this, people I've worked with for 6 years, and we put the data up there, and they still went, well, that's just not true. Now, we're talking about Dick Blumenthal, Senator Richard Blumenthal, who we have tracked taking money from communist political groups and speaking at their events. Man, I'm telling you, in 1953, he'd be hanging upside down with the deer out in the barn, right? With
Yeah.
people, it was more like that movie we watched, right? Like that. But there was a time when that was the way it was. And if the law couldn't fix it, the mob would, right?
Yeah.
And they would do all that crazy murder people. Then they'd go to church on Sunday, and say, God forgive me, but he had to go. I mean, that's how I feel about a pedophile. I don't want to
Mhm.
talk to one. I don't want to feed one with my tax money, nothing. If you get sexually turned on by children, something broke in you so fucking bad that you need to just be, you know, they castrate them and they still get out and do that crazy shit. It's like, I don't know, man, if a mind that fucked up. Now, we've allowed every bit of this to happen, but positive narrative, and the children are sick of it. I promise you, the children are sick of it. Talk to a
Yeah.
lot of them, right? There's a bunch of kids around the golf course and all that. They're over it. They're over the crap they did to them at school. They think we're all batshit crazy because the way we listen to the hatred and all that. They're like, kids don't even feel that. Kids don't have any of that. None of it. We teach it to them. Now, here's what we got to do. Shut the teachers up. And, free press my ass, whatever. These people are sowing hatred among the people, right?
Mhm.
There's a Bible series of verses in Proverbs said there's 6 things God hates. And at the end of it, it said, wait, nope, there's one more that's an absolute abomination to him. And you know what it is? People who sow discord among brethren.
Mhm.
People who stir up shit around people who are otherwise happy, get along good, no problems, and then somebody comes in and stirs up a lot of shit. God
Mhm.
hates those people. He won't look at them. They're an abomination to him. Like, smelling something really bad that you just like that. And that's what an abomination does to you.
Mhm.
People who sow discord among brethren. I have been telling people this for 20 years, that even the sitcoms in the 90s where it became cool that whoever could cut whoever else down the fastest, the wittiest, the ugliest thing, and demean people, and that became common in our culture. It went from TV shows where they did that bullshit trying to be funny. Then the next thing you know, it's everybody in the house. This
Yeah.
all has been going on for such a long time. Media was involved, all of it. And I'm telling you, China had a 50-year plan to destroy America. Russia has had plants in here, the pushing sexuality, drug addiction, all this. Then you got the cartels supplying the drugs, don't care how many people they kill. We've lost our fighting force of young men, but more importantly than that, they were going to be the fathers of our future. And they're all dead from drugs or COVID, where their balls shrank from getting rat DNA and all this other shit. Is like, this did not happen overnight. It will not be fixed overnight. Now, I mean, I should not even talk anymore. That's my sermon, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. Well, I understand all that. I mean, we can't quit. We just got to keep fighting for our kids and trying to get back to where we need to be. And that's all I've been trying to do. But I wanted to play this because I thought this was really, really moving for me too. To seeing these people finally being able to come out and talk about things. And I think that's important. But I want to play this for anybody who hadn't seen it. So, Byron Donalds. But I don't know if you've seen it or not, but here we go.
The Senate sucks. Just come out and say it. They suck. This is not hard. 80% of the American people want the Save America Act to pass. Not 80% of Republicans, 80% of the American people. And the only organization that refused to act is the United States Senate. Everybody else is saying, this is common sense. We should do common sense things. Let's
Mhm.
make sure only Americans are voting in our elections. Makes sense, right? Let's protect the franchise of the American people. Let's make sure that people who are sent to Washington are being voted on by Americans. Who the American people choose is up to them, but we have a responsibility to secure that franchise and to secure that process for the American people. And what
Mhm.
is happening in the US Senate is laziness, and quite frankly, it's disgusting.
Mhm.
What? The Senate Democrats don't want to have voter ID in America. Why? Because they want to maintain their power. Senate Republicans don't want to do the right thing and actually have a true filibuster on the floor and debate the matter on the floor, because it would take them away from their precious meetings that they have to conduct. I'm sorry. They have a responsibility to open up the Senate floor and debate this issue in front of the American people. I agree
Mhm.
with Chairman Harris 1000%. I want to hear what Chuck Schumer has to say on the floor in full debate about why he opposes this measure. I want to hear what Elizabeth Warren has to say about why she would oppose this measure. I want her to tell the people of Massachusetts why she believes that the people of Massachusetts should not have to show a photo ID in order to vote in a federal election in the United States of America. Just the other day, President Obama opened up his presidential library.
Well, it's just good to finally see more and more people finally speaking out about how ridiculous this really is. And now they're on another break. That's what's we have things that need to be done. We have elections coming up, and we can't get the people that we voted for that said they were America first, which means Americans should be the only ones voting in our elections. Yet we can't get them to vote on it when Johnson already said they had it done and voted on and on the desk of Thune in February. And it's been sitting here all this time, months after month after month, and they're just twiddling their thumbs. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why, but every day that goes by, it makes you more and more suspicious about what is going on.
No,
Who's
I mean
paying?
there's reasons for it. See, this is why I watch all those stupid C-SPANs and why I've
Mhm.
got my AI snoops everything for me that I need. I tell it what I want, and the AI, and I don't care if it's an Australian news broadcast, German, I don't care what it is. If it's news that I have in my tell me if this happens stuff, I get it. Right.
Yeah.
So among those things were why the SAVE Act. Well, the first thing was he put $70 billion in there for Homeland Security for ICE.
Mhm.
They wouldn't pass it because of that. So then he did the whatever it was, they funded ICE right outside of that bill. And they're like, okay, we'll be able to do it now. No, the Democrats decided there was something else in there that they wanted, and they are taking SNAP benefits and doing a lot with SNAP benefits because there's so much fraud in SNAP benefits.
Well, I want to say one thing what you said. They're taking little by little by little out of it. It sounds
Yeah,
like, right? But the
yeah,
thing is, remember, wasn't that long ago, Nancy Pelosi pushes this card out with tons of papers on it. Well, if you want to know what's in it, you got to vote on it.
yeah, right.
She didn't even want anyone to know. Well, at least we have people that are trying to explain what's in it and why it's important that it's in there. And now all we
No, I
get
read, I read
pushing,
that
pushing,
damn
pushing
thing.
away from it.
Yeah, I read the Health Care Act within days of it passing. I knew when she said that, I thought, oh my God, what are they going to do to us? I mean, and really, if you think about it, remember, go back. I was talking about FDR. I, I got these are ex-Marines. There were lawyers. One taught history in college forever. These guys can get their hands on data, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's called Forgotten History, at Forgotten History on YouTube. I would suggest every single person here go there because they tell the truth based on court documents, official government records, congressional votes, all that kind of stuff. And most importantly, the videos of the people, right? And they have one about what was crooked about George Bush. They got one about what was crooked about Bill Clinton. They do everybody. All they do is just show the record. And if you watch that, it really will bring you more to understanding how politics works and what goes on. Certainly no one is perfect, and they make mistakes. Well, what are those mistakes? That's what we're supposed to learn from. And I'll land that right there. But forgotten history. Oh no, I was trying to get to this point. Go watch the one about Roosevelt. Go watch the one about Roosevelt and the New Deal, because he breaks down how that socialism started. And the reason that I wanted to bring that up was healthcare, universal healthcare, was like crossing a line between social welfare and socialism. And that's where I think people really have gotten confused. We are a social welfare country. No one goes to bed hungry unless they're too sorry to go ask for help. Everybody could, for the most part, the people that are on the street are sick. And I know this because my ties with law enforcement and ties with the healthcare industry and with drug addiction and abuse through all these programs I've been a part of. Most people on the street are living in the little hobo places, or that's what they choose. And that's okay. If somebody can be simple with that, like, let them live that way, right? There's a lot of complexity in all of this shit. I'm telling you, in America, we take care of sick, hungry people, right? All you got to do is ask for help. And that's social welfare state. But socialism is different. And so I think people confuse those two things. What's the social welfare and what's the socialism?
Also, a place like where I live now, you have churches, you have all kinds of organizations and groups, even people just in neighborhoods that would take meals and do things like that for other people. But then when you get to the city, it's like they'll step over you. If you're laying in the street, they just step over you like you're not even there. They whip out their cell phones when someone's getting robbed or beaten up. I mean, it's really sad to see that. But then we wonder why every single city in every single state is run by blue people. Okay, I'm just saying that, and you can see by the actions of the people in the streets, that's who's running it. I mean, it just
but see, and that's what I'm saying. In the cities, it's socialism, right? In the think about how they gave $40 billion, man, to California to get homeless people off the street. And you know what they did with the $40 billion? They bought parks and let people put tents up there.
And they gave them massages.
Yeah, and they were all on drugs. It's like, oh my God.
Sad. It really is sad.
Yeah, that's sad. That's socialism, though. See, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. They get the money and they give you exactly what they want to and not one more thing. And if you think you're free living in a fenced-in tent camp, I mean, they didn't invite the Jews during World War II to go where they were getting gassed. They lined them all up with guns and made them go in there. These people chose that. That's what I'm saying about there's the sick mentality. Most of our homelessness and all of that stuff is more about mental illness than anything. And then let's look at the structure in this. You know why people like videotape somebody getting their ass beat and put it on TikTok? Because the assholes that clicked like on it, right? They're fed that, oh, you want to be a winner? Find something really cruel and post it, right? No, back in the day, man, people stepped in and said, whoa, stop! What's wrong with you? People still do that. It only takes one video on TikTok with 100,000 likes to make everybody think that's how everybody acts. That's not how everybody acts, because the Europeans would be going, oh my God, I tried to go to Waffle House and the bikers pulled up and there was a gunfight in the parking lot. You don't hear that shit from these visitors. They're saying everybody gets along. Everybody wants to help you. Everybody's so
Everybody
nice.
says hello.
Right. That's what I'm
Or it's
talking about.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, but these idiots on TikTok, that's a microcosm. But here's what the problem is: that microcosm has bled into mainstream media, broadcast media, who use our airwaves, by the way. Look at
Yeah.
the history of AM radio, how we developed the phone lines. The people funded that through tax breaks and all that. And private companies doing that didn't break out forever. And those were the monopolists of the early 2000s, who then basically socialized us. They started the Food and Drug Administration in 2010, told us what to eat, what not to eat, made drugs out of herbs and shit that grows in your yard, and told you that if you use the herbs, you were a quack. It's like, oh my God, right? All this took a century to happen.
Yeah.
Well, and we are where we are. The only way to unfuck America is to teach America what the truth is. That you can grow plants in your yard that can heal you when you're sick. That you can grow all your own food. That you can, everything. That you can start your own business. And all you got to do is pay a little bit of taxes on it. But no, whoa, everybody's got to have $20 an hour.
That's one reason why they started this whole thing, I think, with the voter ID. Just think about it. If you took every single company or person that ran for office or any of that stuff that believes that you should not ask someone for their ID when they want to vote, okay, so that to make sure that everyone just gets one vote like they're supposed to, right? But then you go to their business and you try to buy something or whatever else, and you want to use this credit card, and they say, well, to prove who you are, we need your ID. Well, why? I don't have to have one to vote. Didn't you say that or whatever? It would be different, because then they would be forced to have to change that whole stance on it.
Okay, let me bring this up right now on that, because that's a viable argument. But here's the problem. One of my friends in Nashville was the guy who was in charge of immigrant welfare. And me and him used to talk a lot. So he tells me most of the people that he looked out for the welfare for, and there was girls getting raped in empty houses where all these workers would sleep around before they'd go pick corn the next day or whatever it was. This was up in middle Tennessee. So that, killings, murders, houses with no running water where 20 people were living. He told me that those people come here, they make all their money. It's basically paid in cash. It's farmers, which, big ranch owners, shit like that. They pay them cash. They take that money back to Mexico when it's not planting season, and they live down there on the American dollars, and the exchange rate is insanely good. So there's huge benefit for these people to come. We can't do without them. We can't not have that kind of a workforce here. So that's one of the rehabilitations that needs to be done to the immigration system, because what he said they all say is, if I could just become a citizen, I would pay taxes. Okay. Now, my opinion, and it's just my opinion, but if you pay taxes, you ought to be able to vote. Like, if all you do is play video games and live in your mom's dad's house, and you don't go out and you don't become a part of the economy, and you're a tax burden on your parents and not a tax benefit to the state, you shouldn't have a damn vote. Whether you're 16, 18, 25, whatever, until you become a part of the American system and pay your taxes, you don't have a voice. That's like people that don't vote and bitch about who's in office. It's like, well,
that's what I just said about assimilation. If somebody comes here and they want to open a business, or they start a job, or they and they
Absolutely.
and that kind of stuff, and they want to buy a home, and they want to assimilate, join their community, go to the schools, learn the language, all those things. That's why the whole thing that we have set up about becoming a citizen, having to learn the Constitution, all the different steps they're supposed to take, is because they're assimilating to our country. We're not trying to force them to all be Christians or all be
No, not in
any
America.
of that
Yeah.
stuff.
And
It's
Israel
only
doesn't
to
do that either.
understand what our country's about. And once they do, and every single one that I've ever met that got their citizenship the right way, they're all glad they did, and they're
Damn right.
proud Americans.
That's right.
So, I mean, to me, I don't understand why that's such a big deal, and that just walking over the border does not make you an American. I can tell you right now, I know someone who married a person from Norway. They got pregnant and they had a baby in America, and then they would travel back to Norway, and he worked there for a little while for his job. But the whole time they were there, she took classes and everything, tried to learn the language, all that stuff, so she could take a test, and she had to pass this test to be able to become a citizen. Well, guess what? Her daughter has already graduated from high school and went to college, and she's becoming, her job is about to start, and she still never got her citizenship. You know why? Because she couldn't learn the language. She couldn't learn to speak the language and understand the language, so she couldn't become a citizen of that country. And yet we're the bad guys because we are too strict, because we won't let people just walk over the border, and we make them go back. Okay. It's just ridiculous. Same thing in Mexico. You can't just go there and say, I want to buy a property and I want to do this, that, and the other if you're not a citizen,
That's right.
And the people just think it's we're so horrible, but yet we pay all these other countries that hate us money to help them help themselves. But we can't even help ourselves. So I don't think we should be sending any more money. But I wanted to play this whole thing with the Kennedy. I just shared the link in the chat for everyone, so that you can share it if you're interested. But I want to play this for you, because these are all this stuff is all about the SAVE Act, voting, and different things like that. All connects.
What I took away in part from the meeting was that the president really wants a SAVE Act. I mean, I think at this point, even your neighborhood squirrels understand that, and I want it too. I offered it as an amendment to our last in our last vote-a-rama, and I didn't get it. I didn't get enough votes. I'm open to any approach that we need to follow. What I took away in part from the meeting was
so all of these people, the ones that you're seeing that are going in front of, the TV cameras, and they're willing to talk about whatever, are all trying to say, this is what I tried to do. And there's no talking to these people, basically. So at least we know that some people are trying. They're trying to do something.
I talk to them sometimes. They're just people like us, man. I'm telling you, it's all. Let's get to the real issue here, okay?
Yeah.
The money, the lobby. They visit these people. They have the agenda. Okay? That paper I sent you about who's winning the overall global unrest problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it pointed to the winner as being China.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about this a second.
Okay.
China is supplying weapons
Mm-hmm.
to Russia to fight Ukraine. Now, we've supplied a whole lot of weapons to Ukraine, basically because Britain wanted to fuck around over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Trump wised up. He said, we're not giving any more weapons and we're not supporting that, but you can buy them from us. Now, all of these companies that make bombs and aircraft and all that, I'm not going to say their names. Anybody can look them up, but we know who they are. And the people, the stockholders and the people in these companies are getting rich. So we can fund a war in Ukraine that China is funding in Russia. And here's the problem. As long as that war goes on, and Trump already made a deal with Putin, they never made it public yet, but there's already been a deal made with Putin that we're going to buy our rare minerals from that part of Ukraine that was taken, right? Which, I mean, I would have done the same thing. And I think they're talking about a DMZ too, like in North and South Korea. So, 50 kilometers, whatever, you can't come here, we can't come there, and put a building in the middle to shake hands once in a while, whatever they're going to do. But my point is, we're supplying the weapons that will prevent us from getting rare earths. And China controls 60 to 70% of the rare earth production currently. So they don't need it. Right? You got sucked into this bullshit move right there, right? We're literally supplying the weapons, keeping us from being able to start building computer chips here and building more other things that we need all of that stuff for, right? Now, let's talk about what we discussed with Iran and Israel. The CIA helps Iran get the Shah in charge. Israel's like, that was the best thing ever. And they get good relations, and women are able to go get educated and do all this other stuff. And all the whole time, Khomeini, who was ousted in that overthrow, is planning to take Iran back. The day he does it, 1979, when they took our hostages from the university that were there 413 days, he called us the great Satan, and he said he was going to destroy Israel because they were bringing the Western world into Iran. Now, we're neck deep in that deal right there over something a completely radical person said because he was trying to rile up the people where he just overtook the country and turn everybody against us. Now, everybody's fine. Borders are good. People are staying where they're supposed to. And all of a sudden, America opens its borders, and we're not even checking to see if these people got COVID, for Christ's sake. And all of Americans are locked in their fucking house, okay? Blah, blah, blah.
Well, yeah, and forcing our military to have to take the jab, okay,
Right.
and other people to keep their jobs, but they're letting people walk in with no vaccines at all, ever.
And who did that? Vanguard, BlackRock. Their top investors were the 4 companies who made the vaccines. Now, let's go right back to where I started this. The lobby. The lobby and the money in Washington, D.C. have a lot of power, and they will kill you if you do certain things. Seth Rich, other people, they shot Bill Clinton's legal counsel in his office in the White House and made it look like suicide. The guy who did that confessed on his deathbed that was the way it went down. It's like, oh my God, right? So yeah, Washington it's not like people think it is. The lobby, the money, and then if the money won't work, the mob will. And that's our Washington, D.C. Now, do we want a bunch of Marxist, socialist, communist, CCP backed, whatever, in there running that? Oh, God, no, man. I'm telling you, let's just stick with good old people that are, 5th, 6th generation Americans that learn from their history and their families what this country is about. Yeah. I'm going to post a couple of pictures on the other site. I'm going to post a couple on Discord. One of them is a letter that was written by Theodore Roosevelt in 1905 about assimilation. And the other one is the American Creed. And it's like a road sign on a Kentucky highway. And I read it, I took a picture of it. And I'm going to post those two things on the Discord for anybody that wants to come look.
Okay, cool. Well, but this is another thing that I found today on my timeline. It's from Lindell TV. I'm so
Lindell,
happy.
Mike
Yeah,
Lindell TV.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Some of their people on here are so fun. It seems like they enjoy what they do. It's not a typical news company. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
actually seem like they enjoy being journalists. But I want to play this because I think it's really good. So let me make sure it's turned up. But listen to this.
With the Senate continuing to block the Save America Act, as we know, they're now going on this multi-week recess. Is it perhaps a possibility at this point to speak with Vice President J.D. Vance and have him go in to preside over the Senate to actually enforce the talking filibuster instead of this zombie variant that's currently blocking everything up?
I'm open to all options. I mean, I think this whole group is, as you just heard in this press conference, is open to any option. We don't really care as much how it gets done. We'd love to see JD or anybody that can go in there and influence the Senate in a way that would get them to bring this to the floor, actually have the debate so the American people can see it. And then we want to see an up or down vote. I think transparency is important. I think the American people want to see not only the debate, but then who votes up or down. As you know, we've passed this twice now in the House. We've done our work, but we're still pushing because, you know, when I go back home and talk to my constituents, the number one thing they bring up to me is, what's up with the Save America Act? Is it going to pass? And, you know, so we're open to any and all options.
Is that something the House Freedom Caucus would go and speak with the vice president about? I mean, I think this is like the one option that hasn't really been spoken about. And at this point, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, we're open to anything. You know, we've been talking to counterparts in the Senate. We've been talking to the president, and we're happy to talk to JD. Like I said, it doesn't matter to us how this gets done. We just want it done.
And if you just had to go out on a limb, why would you say the Senate is just so intent on holding this up? Is it to, you know, further their own personal agenda? Is it because they don't care about the future of the country? I mean, look at what happened in New York just recently with communists literally taking over. I mean, this couldn't be more important, yet they don't seem to care at all. Why do you think that is?
You know, I don't know whether it might interfere with their nap time or their tapioca pudding, you know, get-togethers or whatever they're doing. But, you know, like I said, at the end of the day, the American people have spoken loud and clear. 80-20 issue, Republicans, Democrats, independents. You know, they might be scared that, you know, Democrats might bring things to the floor during this process. And I say, if that's the case, deal with those issues as they come. But this is that important. So,
well, thank you so much, Congressman. We appreciate all you do.
Well, I thought that was really good. A very good back and forth. But the thing is, I believe that the people that voted for Trump and voted for a lot of these people that are in office, for it to be transparent, get them up there on the floor, let us hear what they're saying to each other. And then when they do have a vote, let us see their...
We don't want to hear their bullshit. You know, let me tell you exactly what I'll do. You heard everybody, Senator John Kennedy, this guy, Trump wants the SAVE Act. 80% of the people want the SAVE Act. Do you know what the president has the power to do? He can mandate a vote to the people, give them one day and say, go and vote on this one issue. And then have that vote, and Congress has no say in it because the president is not just the commander in chief, but he is the leader of the militia. And the militia are all of us with free speech and guns, right? So he can give the militia an opportunity to vote, and everyone qualified to vote can vote. And once that vote's told, he might lose. See, that's the thing about putting things up in front of the people. He might lose. On this one, I don't think he would. If he tried to do some radical shit with abortion, you're looking at 50-50. And men are going to vote. It's none of their fucking business, right? You know, blah, blah. People are going to vote that it doesn't even have anything to do with. If they just would abide by the HIPAA laws they made in this country about discussing your medical shit in public, right? Don't do it to yourself for sure, but other people can't do it, right? So this is a medical procedure. It needs to be done, and zip it, right?
Yeah, I don't really want to hear them whining. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, I don't want to hear their shit.
All I want to know though is if they come up there and they do their debate, whatever it is, why they're going to vote for it, blah blah blah. Okay, then we get to see the roll call and the vote. Okay, and get to have the names coming down the list, showing us the voters that put these people in office, especially when it comes to your states, when their names come up. We know where they're at. Okay, you and I, we're paying more attention to it, so we know a little bit more. But people who just don't normally watch it, and if they would just tune in and watch that, they would pretty much know that, man, the guy I voted for, he sucks. I'm not voting for him again. That's why they don't want it to be open to the public, because they're afraid they're going to lose. And to me, the only time you hide things is when you don't want people to see what you're doing.
Yeah, there's a recall election going on right now, and you know who it's for? That sheriff that bunked up that case of the that TV lady's mom.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember what her name is, but I know who you're talking about. Her mom's dead, I'm sure.
The Guthrie family. Okay, so here's the deal. They got a vote on him right now, but the reason they're trying to vote him out and what came up was the FBI investigated his office a few years back. And so he had a rub with them. And when they showed up and said, we're taking this case, he told them to get off the property. And then no judge or anybody ever ordered the FBI in there, which that can happen. A federal judge can do that. But nobody ever did it, and probably because of local politics. And that's the point. We should have a show one time about local politics, because if you look at grassroots stuff, what people are able to do, blah, blah. Don't tell me grassroots politics isn't real. $650 million they stole. They said they were giving it to feed children. Okay, now, if the local politicians gave a damn about children, they'd have been walking around that building like wolves. What are you doing with the money, right? Local politics, the power of local politics, how you can get money, build buildings and do all. But see, now it's not, people don't do those good things. A guy used to build a library, build a radio station, or we don't do those things anymore. That's one of our big failures. And so, I have a very positive outlook, because I think that there's an awakening going on. And it's as slow as it is. Oh my God, it sort of started happening, right? And I'm saying that because we actually have elected officials saying in front of cameras now the shit we've all been saying for the last 12 years. So they're not ignoring us anymore. Yeah. Right. That's a big part of the awakening.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
I'm have an outlook about it. As far as the labor we get from Mexico or Honduras or whatever, the hell with all that. That shit doesn't matter. If we build things, build infrastructure, fix bridges, fix roads, build homes, right? Then life is like a farm. You can't have a farm without animals that don't reproduce, right? You can't have a field of corn if you don't plant it, right? We got to get back to that mentality. And I'm not saying farm life and all that shit. I'm saying life breeds life. And as soon as we start focusing more on life, we'll start doing. Because the best thing that could happen for the people who have voted illegally in the end is that we would stop having all the crazy shit we have between these two radical parties, and they could restructure immigration, have these work permits, even allow those people to come and go from Mexico, which is what Bush's Mexico Open Trade Act was supposed to do. But it got used by criminals, twisted up, became a drug highway, blah, blah. always all, who's got the most money to pay off people to do what they want to do. And if you can get government money to pay off people to do what you want to do, that's when you're in the system and you're stuck there.
Yeah.
And that's the world that we're living in right now. I believe all people are cool, and that's the reflection that we're seeing on TikTok with all these visitors. Okay, that's what we're seeing. The American people are good. What's not good is this narrative in the media and the bullshit games in our government. If they just use common sense, all of this would go away. If people want to live in a communist country, there are countless ones they can go to. We'll even buy them a plane ticket, right? You want to go there, you could go to a sex island down in fucking Honduras or some shit. If that's what you want to do, in America, we're free. That's what they love about being here. It's free. If that would spread around the world a little bit, it's like, because most people just want to get to heaven. In the end, we all want to go to heaven. We want people to love and respect us. And that's a fine balance. You got to fuss at people sometimes, and you got to help pick them up off the ground sometimes too. And that's the struggle of humanity. But life tends to life. And when we start focusing on those matters, the deficit is going to disappear. More taxes will come in. There'll be less fighting. People will have money to pay their doctor. Everything, right? And that's what, when me and Elon were talking all the time and doing spaces, and we were talking about Department of Accountability, DOA, because we were saying we were going to make everybody DOA. And he did that Doji thing, and he goes, "Oh my God, Department of Government Efficiency." I'm like, yeah, that's what the entire Doji. I told them where to go find all that stuff with Social Security and USAID. I had given it to military intelligence, and I don't know if they thought I was crazy or what, but it's like nothing happened. But when I told Elon and he slipped over and decided he was going to help Trump get elected, we were on a mission, so help me God. And we unraveled all that shit. And it's in the trillions, probably, the money that they took. They're still not getting to the bottom of it, but everybody saw how Elon reacted when he saw what they were doing.
People were attacking his business.
Oh yeah, he got attacked like no fucking other, and that's a sacrifice he made. I don't think people realize, right? That was a choice. It was in discussions. It was more than just me and Elon in those discussions, and we talked about it. And it's like we're gonna show everybody everything, and that's what sort of we're doing. And now, like these videos tonight, the politicians are on board. They're willing to look and say, this is really happening to us. We have to fight to stop it.
At least the ones in the House are fighting for us. It seems like we're split. But the sad truth is we don't know why there's a split. Why?
Because the money. Because of the lobby money. I'm telling you,
they're supposed to be doing what they told us they were going to do. The ones who put them in that position, voting for them in our states, they're supposed to be doing that for us. The people in our state voted for you, so go there and do your job. So we need everybody in your states to have people in there to be contacting your senators and saying, get off your ass and do the job that we paid you for, or we're getting rid of you.
That's true. That's grassroots politics.
That's what we need. We need everybody to stand up and do that. But I wanted to play this because I thought this was interesting, because until I read this, I really wasn't thinking about it. But it says they're adjourning because we found out they're not going to be in there to vote for anything until after July 13th. It says so on. That's what they said.
This the July 4th break. It's every session. It's always.
Yeah. I understand that, but they didn't get their job done before they decided to leave. It says the U.S. House of Representatives passed the State or Save America Act 1383 by 218 to 213. So 213 people in the House of Representatives voted against people having to be an American citizen. See, that's still bad. Even though it passed, okay, it's still bad that we have that many people that didn't want us to not let illegals just walk over the border and get a ballot and vote for whoever they want. We could have Cuba people coming over that love Castro and say, yeah, we're going to put in every bad person we could think of, the drug runners and stuff that'll run this country. I mean, it's just ridiculous the way that this could turn into a disaster if we don't get people off their ass to get this taken care of. But this is what was interesting. It says, as a bonus, for the first time in modern American history, the President of the United States is blocked by making any recess appointments. And it shows Ronald Reagan had 240. George W. Bush had 77. Bill Clinton had 139. And George W. Bush had 171. And then Barack Obama had 32. And Donald Trump has 0. They've made sure that they have someone go in and hit the gavel so that he can't make recess appointments. Even though they decide to do this, taking all these days off, 19 days, but yet they're not going to let Trump do his job. See, that's another reason why the red flags are going up for me. It doesn't make sense. If these people rode on his coattails to get in office, then why aren't they doing what we voted them in there to do? None of that makes sense, but I'm going to play this video for you real quick. It's not very long.
Right. But for example, on the health committee, you have Senator Collins, Senator Murkowski. They've already raised concerns about RFK Jr. I think when you have Matt Gaetz, there's already some Republicans who have spoken out and said some things. The numbers start to get problematic if that is a problem, and your onus for you is to try to get the president who he wants to be in the cabinet. Do you then punt to a recess and try to recess the Senate for 10 days and get those appointments in?
Well, it's an option, but obviously it takes, you have to have all Republicans vote to recess as well. So the same Republicans that you mentioned that might have a problem voting for somebody under regular order probably also have a problem voting to put the Senate into recess. You have to have concurrence from the House. There's a process. All this is a process. But I don't think any of those things are necessarily off the table. I think we have to have all the options on the table. And these nominees deserve their day in court. They deserve a hearing, a confirmation hearing, an opportunity to be vetted, and the Senate will perform its constitutional role under advice and consent. But we are not going to allow the Democrats to thwart the will of the American people in giving President Trump the people that he wants in those positions to implement his agenda.
When it comes,
the thing is, they're not. So I don't know. I'm just having a really hard time with just them lollygagging around and not doing what we sent them there to do. I've had a hard time dealing with that, trying to figure it out because it doesn't make any sense. But we'll just go past that and go to this next thing because I really do like this guy. And I like Stephen Miller, and I think he's very informative. So I'm going to play this for you. I think it's really good. It's not very long, but here we go.
That's the communication challenge that we all have together, Sean, which is to explain to the American people that Democrats you grew up with, the Democrats that your mom and dad grew up with, the Democrats that your grandma and grandpa grew up with, do not exist anymore at all, not at any level of government. A vote for any Democrat anywhere for any office is empowering a party that wants to strip this country to the bone, to take away our security, our defense, our way of life. Just tonight, Sean, I saw a Democrat member of Congress online defending the Antifa terrorists in Texas who were just jailed for shooting an ICE officer. They shot an ICE officer. They were charged with terrorism, and a Democrat congresswoman was defending the Antifa terrorists. That's
kind of scary when you think about it. And you could see how upset he was about it, but he's not lying. I see it all over the place. I'm on lots of different platforms. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Rumble. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube, and I'm on X. Those are the ones I spend most of my time on, and sometimes on Telegram. And it's shocking when I read all these people, mostly leaning left, spouting that kind of stuff about how horrible we are, what kind of horrible people we are, that we don't want illegals to vote. We don't want illegals to have a place to live in our country and be paid for by our tax dollars when we have homeless veterans, stuff like that. It's just sickening to me that we actually have people that think that that's okay to do that. I don't know. I'm really struggling with this. I'm really having a hard time with it,
Well,
trying to understand.
I can tell you this, for what the lobby damage the lobby doesn't do,
Hmm.
those guys are detached from the people who they vote for, who vote for them. I mean, right? They don't, if they were eating in cafes every morning and having round tables, whatever town talks, whatever they're called, if
Yeah.
they spent more time around people, they would know more what the people want, right? And so they generally, most of them will go out and do things when they're not in session. Some of them don't because they're just lazy as hell.
Well, they got
But
19 days coming up. I hope all of them go back to their hometowns and walk around, talk to the people, and see what their people want them to do. And I bet they won't. They'll all go behind their little gated communities and do whatever, and won't even think twice about going and talking to the people in their state that put them in there to make this crap decisions that they're making.
right. So it's really easy for them. They're detached from mine and your feelings and what we want. And then somebody comes in with a briefcase with $100,000 in it, or 10 vacations for whoever you pick, or whatever they bribe them with. God only knows, gold and everything else. Bitcoin now, cryptocurrency. It's all it happens, right? Soon as that money shows up, and the fact that you're just a vote, you're not Janet, you're not a person with feelings, you're just some asshole that voted for me in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Right. And that detachment is as damning as that money is. I think if the money wasn't there, the detachment would be bad, but things would get done. I think, if the detachment wasn't there, but the money was, they would at least have enough conscience to do what their voters want them to do. But they're so detached from the voter that it just becomes, just give me the
Easier.
money. And
Yeah,
everybody
it's
up
easier to
there is
take
doing
money.
it, right?
Mhm.
I've told you about when I work up there, I spend weeks at a time, right?
Yeah.
I'm walking around in Congress. We do the hearings, and you hear them yelling at each other in there and all this other shit. And then you go out to one of these really great, 400-year-old restaurants, and they're all in there at the same table drinking and laughing and cutting up. I mean, that's the reality of Washington, D.C., right? It's all for the television cameras, it's all for the money, and it's not for the voter,
And that's
right? And
the
then if the
truth.
socialists and the
Sadness.
communists get in charge, it's going to get really ugly. Make no mistake. I mean, they're right to be worried about it. Let me tell you what really bothers me. I was worried about this in the mid 90s. Okay. I was worried about it a lot worse in 2003. By the time 2014 came around, I was willing to risk my life to make people see the truth and talk about it. And I've been through hell, arrested, and God knows the things I can't even talk about that the government has done to me for doing nothing but telling the truth. Right. And even today, nobody will hear this conversation we're having. And these are things that really matter that people need to understand. I'm not smart. I am not the smartest person in the room, and I always want to learn from anybody, right? But I've been in these places, and when I talk about this stuff, it's because I was standing there when it happened, right? And I've been around the system and seen how it works, what's good about it and what's not good about it. but there's a detachment right now. And this issue with the SAVE Act, it's just common sense. That's why 80% of the people want it on both sides of the aisle, because it's common sense. But it's sad, but the 20% are the people that watch CNN, MSNBC, blah, blah. They're being brainwashed. They're being brainwashed by the lobby who controls the media so that they can get their agenda. And 20% of the people, I hope they don't take this country over, but I mean, they've made good leeway. They damn have made good. They got New York City and London have both fallen.
Yeah, it's
That's a scary
really
thought. In the Western world, our two biggest major cities and economic centers have fallen to these people. And I'm not saying they're falling or gonna fall. They're done.
Yeah, and the thing is that they've been planning this for a long time. That's what they did. That's all they do. They just said they'll wait 100 years to fill out their plans. But this is the last thing that I had that I wanted to pull up, and I thought it was really important because this might really make a difference. This one simple thing that Trump can do, and his administration is going to do, has already said that it's being done. About the whole thing about the post office. So I'm going to play this video for you.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty good.
For mail-in ballots in states that refuse to provide lists of voters eligible to receive them. What's going on? Yes, Jackie Heinrich. She's live at the White House. Hi, Jackie.
Hey, Dana. The Postmaster General's refusal to deliver mail-in ballots to any state that won't say who's eligible to get them follows an executive order the president signed back in March, creating this proposed rule. And that order is facing multiple court challenges. Just yesterday, a federal judge in Boston blocked the administration from implementing most of this order, which also deals with other provisions like proof of citizenship and deadlines. The judge arguing in her sweeping decision that the Constitution doesn't grant the president any specific power over elections. Several Democratic-leaning states brought the lawsuit, claiming it coerces the states into conforming to requirements to hand over their absentee voter rolls or face the consequences of not being able to vote by mail. Democrat Senator Gary Peters called it unacceptable.
This rule marks certainly an alarming departure from the Postal Service's long-standing tradition of neutrally delivering all types of mail. You get a piece of mail with an address on it, you make sure it gets delivered to that address in a timely fashion. You don't ask any other questions. What this basically rule will do is going to turn the Postal Service, however, into a ballot verification agency.
President Trump argues the order, along with the SAVE Act, will curb voter fraud ahead of the midterms. At a Senate hearing, Postmaster General defended the proposed rule.
So all the state gives us is a list of here are the voters.
The thing is, what that gentleman did say was in a timely manner. So if that's true, then the post office has been shit at being a timely manner, because how many weeks did some of these states count? Quite a few times. And look at this last thing, and just in California, in that one area,
Fucking nightmare.
it's ridiculous when it's supposed to be voting day, one day. And they do it in other countries where they vote millions and 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 millions of ballots in one day, in one place, one area. But this is why I tell people, if you sign up and work the polls, help your best friend, babysit for them, do all this stuff so people can sign up in your town to work the polls, because the reason these people have gotten away with this is because people became lazy. And I'd hear young people saying, God, it looks like a nursing home every time you go vote. It's nothing but old people that work there, being all like assholes talking about it. But I said, how many times have you signed up to work? Well, I have a job. Like that. And I'm like, well, they can't fire you if you help run elections. Did you know that? But it takes effort, to to work the polls. It's not a simple thing. It's something you have to understand what's going on to make sure it's all legal and precise. And they don't want to do it. These young people want to bitch and moan about it, but they don't want to step up and work. So that because you don't get paid very much or whatever, and it's a whole day or crack of dawn until you're done counting. But if we had people that actually would do this, guess what? We would need machines because we'd have these hands like we used to do it. But people are lazy. When you can go, I want a sandwich, I want a cigarette, I want a beer. They just get everything whenever they want it. Get an Uber, whatever it is. You can't compete with that when everything is right now and right on your plate.
Okay, well, my positive thoughts for tonight were grassroots is how we're going to change everything.
Yeah.
And the reality of we're allowing 20% of the people who control the media and the money in Washington to basically force us to do things we don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And the only way to fight that is with grassroots efforts and elections and people with good hearts and solid. No one expects anybody to be perfect, right? The minute you run for office, every time you ever had sex will be on YouTube, and right, every time you ever forgot to pay for something or didn't tip a waitress, or I don't care what you did, you're going to hear about it if you get in public office. Mm-hmm. That's the nature of the beast now. And I think that probably scares most people off. But once you realize it's kind of fun to be hated, it gets pretty fun. I've been doing it a long time, and a lot of people hate the shit out of me. But the one thing they know is I'm going to tell the truth. And I'm not hiding something to make people feel good. I mean, I was really the first one screaming about COVID. I mean, it had to do with my job, but they were telling me classified. I'm like, I was going around in public going, bullshit, right? You're not going to classify that. I got it off the media in China, right? Whatever. Yeah. I didn't get that from work. I got it from the news, right? If you see it in the news, you can replay it. That's the one thing I love about our universal connectivity of the internet is that we can bring the news to you right now. Mm-hmm. There's really no more classification of many things. Even Trump, and it disappoints me a little bit. He's fighting his wars on TV cameras. I guarantee if I was the president, I wouldn't be doing none of that. Nobody would know anything. I'd just shrug. Wars happen.
Well, it worked for Biden.
I mean, if there's a war, go win the motherfucker and don't tell everybody how you're doing it. Just do it.
He just sat and looked at the camera and acted like, whatever.
Wars are rough,
it worked
man.
for him, right? But thanks a lot for joining me today. I really appreciate you.
Oh, I ran my mouth a lot tonight. It was fun.
But it's good. The thing is that it's all things, it's factual information, but a lot of people may not have known about it. And anyone watching this tomorrow or the day after or whatever might be, and I put all the links in the chat, which I have set for replay. Maybe we'll learn something. Even if only one thing that we talked about tonight was something they didn't know about before, we make a difference. If we can just, every person that sees it and thinks, you know what, I am going to go sign up, work the polls in my town, or I'm going to go do this in my town. I'm a volunteer. I'm going to, do something to take our towns and cities back. And that's how we can win once we take back our cities, because once we all start taking back our small towns and cities, we're going to take our states back. And that's what the difference is. That's when we're going to start seeing more and more things getting done, is when we have control of where we live, what's going on around us. And that's what I'm waiting for. I'm rooting for that. I'm seeing little bits here, little bits there that I think are making a difference. But I'm also seeing little dips here and little dips there too in red states. And that really bothers me. But it's for another night, whatever. But thank you so much, Christopher, for hanging out with me tonight and watching the movie beforehand. Man, it was good.
I suggest everybody go watch that. It's pretty good. Just It's pretty graphic.
Yeah, it's very graphic. It's not for kids. It's got a message that make you sit and think afterward. I mean, it is dramatic, it's over the top in some areas, but I think it's just to push the message, what's going on around us, or when are we going to take back our lives? That's basically the story I felt that I got from it. But yeah, it was really, really, really fun to watch, and to see that the people involved in it, all the actors that played different races, different things like that, chose to be in this movie and portray the character that they played. To me, that was very telling. That just because we all think the same way about us fighting for what's ours, which is our lives, right? What goes on in our homes, being able to walk to the store with your child and buy stuff to take home and walk home safely in your town, all that has nothing to do, just like what Johnson said, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're black or white, Indian, it doesn't matter what country you're from. It shouldn't. We should all want the same thing, to grow up and raise our families in a free country where we can be free and not be afraid to walk the streets or worry about our car getting robbed or you being attacked, in your own home, things like that. We should have the right to feel safe. And the only way we're going to get that is by fighting for it. Bringing it back to our towns.
When I post the American Creed and you read it, you're going to go, nobody that's a Democrat believes any of that. It's really very good.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could make Hakeem Jeffries read it out loud in front of a TV camera.
That would
I wish I could somehow make him read it.
Do it.
I really wish I could make him somehow read that on a camera, being broadcast to the whole world, because I don't think he could do it. It goes against everything he believes. Yep.
Sad. But thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us for, over 2 hours.
Thanks, everybody.
So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful beginning of the weekend starting tomorrow morning. So try to get some sleep, and God bless America.
American COVID-19 vaccine deaths, it ranges from about 470,000 from Pfizer alone up to 840,000 American deaths from the COVID-19 vaccines. We have to remember that is rivaling the American soldier death toll of World War I, World War II, Vietnam, and the Iraq War combined.